Hi, and welcome to The Working Songwriter, the show where today's best songwriters come to talk shop. I'm your host, Joe Pug. Each episode here, we host a distinguished guest, and we ask them to go deep on their inspiration, on their process, on the general ups and downs of making a life in music. So, whether you're a grizzled veteran attempting to cravenly release EDM songs under a pseudonym, or else a scrappy upstart brazenly declaring that you'll never sell the publishing of a catalog that no one has ever offered to buy, this is your show. Because ultimately, it is what every writer seeks most, an ironclad excuse to put off actually writing. Hey guys, it's the last Friday of April 2017, and I'm sad to say that this is the second month in a row that we must begin our show with a bit of a eulogy and a goodbye. Let's hope this is the end of a trend for a while, at least, to begin the show on such a somber note. But there are some people in this world that you just can't help but remember and recognize. Susan Tanner was not a songwriter, but she devoted her life to being a tireless advocate for songwriters, famous and obscure and everywhere in between. So here's a brief account of her life from the music journal The Public, written by Donnie Kutzbach. Born and raised in Western New York, Susan Tanner graduated from Eden Central and headed to Allegheny College in Meadville, Pennsylvania, where her love of music drew her to the campus-based radio station WARC. From there, she headed to Philadelphia to work on an advanced degree in neuroscience, but fate and the draw of rock and roll had other plans. She was offered an internship with Miles Copeland's IRS Records. She ended up with a full-time job at the industry powerhouse Universal Records at just the time when alternative rock was about to take over. At Universal, Susan was central in the ascendancy of alternative rock, flying across the world with Teenage Fan Club and minding a Seattle band called Nirvana through press conferences and promotional appearances. By the late 90s, the draw of home was tugging at her. With her parents still in Eden, she moved back to Western New York just in time to get on board with another unique, strong-willed, and passionate homegrown woman, Ani DeFranco. At the height of DeFranco's and her label Righteous Babe's success, Susan was shepherding the marketing of a unique made-in-Buffalo brand to a global audience. She remained at Righteous Babe through the launch of Babeville and into the late 2000s. End quote. That's where I got to know Susan personally. Along with her husband Marty, they hosted touring bands coming through the Ninth Ward, which is the venue attached to Ani DeFranco's label in Buffalo. I spent countless nights crashed out on a cot in her basement, countless hours talking music at the kitchen table with her while Marty fixed Huevos Rancheros. Most of the musicians I'm close with could tell you the same thing. Music is only as meaningful as the community that surrounds it. Susan spent her life building that community brick by brick. You will be dearly missed, Susan. In my mind, we're still on the phone together. You're telling me it's fine to stash contraband in your garage before I cross the border. Just make sure to lock the door and leave behind a copy of the new vinyl. Okay, well, from sincere remembrance, we go straight to the brass tacks. If you'd like to hear some of my music live in the coming months, here's where I'll be. Tonight, April 28th in Lyons, Colorado. Tomorrow, April 29th in Colorado Springs, April 30th at the Bluebird Theater in Denver, May 11th in Austin, Texas at Antone's, which promises to be a fun one, May 12th in the Woodlands, Texas at the Dotsy Do, May 13th in Jackson, Mississippi. May 20th in Columbia, South Carolina at the Freeway Music Festival, May 25th at the Sinclair in Cambridge, Massachusetts, May 26th in Earlville, New York at the Opera House, May 27th at the Parlor Room in Northampton. June 9th at the Chapel in San Francisco. That'll be a great one. Never played there, but I'm looking forward to it. June 10th at the Huichica Music Festival in Sonoma, California. And then on July 6th, I'm heading back down under for a slew of dates in Australia, in New Zealand, with the wonderful Courtney Marie Andrews, who will be opening those shows. I won't list all those shows right here because there's a bunch of them, but check my site. You'll see them all listed. I'm coming to Melbourne, Sydney, Wellington, and Auckland, and many others. Finally, July 22nd, I'll be supporting Mandolin Orange in Raleigh, North Carolina. That show will be a blowout. Come on out. If you guys enjoy this podcast, if you'd like to help it remain a viable endeavor for me, there are two quick, painless, I promise you, painless, very free things that you can do to help out. And both of them, you can do them pretty easily from your phone or wherever. First, you can rate the show within your podcast app. Don't ask me why it's helpful. It just is. You just open up the app, click the search button, type in the Working Songwriter, click on the reviews button for the show, and then just click on Write a Review. It's very easy. The second thing that you can do also from your phone is share the episode with like-minded friends who might dig it. Or even better yet, just in real life, without the use of a phone at all, just mention the show to a like-minded friend, someone that you think might dig it. I'm telling you, since I've been just berating you guys to do this for me, the ratings for the show have been going up big time. It's all because of you. I really, really appreciate it. I'm humbled by it. So please continue to share it with friends, and we're getting to build a pretty cool community here. I'm enjoying the emails that you send every month to the Working Songwriter at Gmail, with suggestions for new guests, with compliments, with critiques. I take them all to heart. I really don't know what I'm doing here. So anything that you're hearing, I would love to get your feedback. Finally, if you dig my music, besides just this program, the best way to help out with that is to listen to it on Spotify, to follow it on Spotify, to share it with your friends on Spotify, because those are the only dudes that actually pay real money. I'm telling you. Okay, I'll end all the harassment there. I really hope you enjoy this month's episode. I had a blast recording it. Erika is so great, and I think you're about to learn that for yourself if you didn't already know it. My guest this month is Erika Wennerstrom, the creative force behind Heartless Bastards and the only constant member of the band since its inception. Originally from Dayton, Ohio, she dropped out of high school in her senior year and had a stint as the bass player for the art rock band Sheezus. A few years later, she met Mike Lamping, who would become the band's bass player, and she relocated to Cincinnati. Legend has it that the band got their name from one of those mega-touch trivia games at the end of a bar. One of the trivia questions was the name of Tom Petty's band, and one of the options for answers was Tom Petty and the Heartless Bastards. Erika liked the ring of that, enough to file it away mentally and eventually use it for her budding musical project. The band played locally and toured regionally in the early 2000s. At a sparsely attended show in Akron, Ohio, Patrick Carney of the Black Keys caught their set and was sufficiently impressed to pass along their demo to his label at the time, Fat Possum. Heartless Bastards signed with the independent label in 2004 and made their entrance onto the national stage. Erika moved to Austin, Texas in 2008 and has since crafted albums with legendary Austinite producers Mike McCarthy and Jim Eno. She's toured with Wilco, Lucinda Williams, and the Drive-By Truckers. She's appeared on The Late Show with David Letterman, Conan O'Brien, and Austin City Limits. She's recorded for Fat Possum and Partisan Records. Many music writers have tried to evoke with words the power of her voice. The New York Times has noted, "Her distinctive call has a timeless quality. It would sound equally at home on a field recording of Appalachian folk songs or an indie rock label from the late 1980s. The Los Angeles Times has noted that her voice packs enough power that it can feel like a plague of locusts devouring a field. And then there's my favorite description by the Austin Chronicle, calling her sound round and steep and mountain-esque. Erika was one of the first people that I harassed about doing this show at the Luck reunion 2 years ago, so it goes without saying how happy I was to have her over to my place in Austin to talk shop. How did it go yesterday in the studio? How far along are you guys?
I've got 2 mixes for. I'm doing this upcoming tour, and I actually about cried on my way over, but in a really good way. Like,
why is that?
I think it's really good.
That's awesome. You mean just listening to them in the car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like. It's, there's some tweaks, so I'm emotional.
Yeah.
There's some tweaks and stuff, but, I'm really proud.
Do you usually feel like this at this point in the process, or is there something different about this one?
There's definitely something different. I think, I'm just sort of coming into myself in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think...
I think, gosh, I started, I guess, this is under my name, this new project, and I've always had a band, and I felt maybe there was a little bit of me that feared standing on my own 2 feet,
sure.
Like without having a team, and I would think I was a little bit afraid of going into that process.
Sure.
But it's been great, yeah.
Man, I think that's great that you're making this transition now, because I also think I've always looked at like songwriters, their careers are less like that of bands where people peak when they're 25 to 30. And it's more of like stand-up comics, and every stand-up comic that I love hits their stride at like 40 to 50 in like that range. And you've been doing this for a while, and so it's cool that you're stepping out on your own now, because you're probably at like the height of your facility, writing-wise and voice-wise right now, because you've learned so much.
I'd like to think so. I guess sometimes, I think so. But I guess that's sort of left up to, everybody has their different ideas. And I think that's what's kind of interesting with doing this new project under my own name, because it's really easy for people to have expectations of things. And when you discover a band that you like, you kind of put them in this box, and you kind of want them to be in that box forever. This idea that first excited you, maybe it gives you nostalgia for certain times, and so if you go in a different direction or change a different sound, sometimes a lot of people aren't along for that ride, and maybe new people come on board. But this is sort of interesting doing this now under my name, because there's just, I don't know what expectations are, but if it sounds different, I don't think it'll be that surprising to people. And if it goes along in a further direction of what I've started, then I don't think that'll be a surprise either. But I think I'm in a spot where I don't feel expectation. That's my new philosophy anyway. It's not like, I don't expect anything from what people are going to expect out of this.
Will you take me back to growing up in Dayton, Ohio, and how music was a part of your life as a kid and as a teenager?
Gosh, yeah, I've wanted to sing and write as long as I can remember. Maybe like I was even like 3 or 4 or 5. I don't really know,
wow.
But I've always just I was just like, I'm gonna be a singer. Like,
really?
Yeah.
At that age?
Yeah, and I never really sang, though. That's the funny thing, is I just told everybody I was going to be a singer, but I was really introverted and kind of awkward, and it's like I never sang around anybody. I just told them that's what I was going to do.
Right.
And
So you weren't exactly singing Hello, Dolly in the school play?
Not at all,
right.
Yeah. I did get in like a choir program in junior high, and once a week, we would go to like a vocal lesson. There would like be 2 other girls in my vocal lesson and stuff. And I would sing in much more choir form. It was very rare. I was like on the spot. Mm-hmm. And I think I remember being given this song for performance where it was like the toe bone connected to the foot bone, the foot bone connected to or whatever, the leg bone, and I'm just like so not into that. That's not what I wanted to sing. So me having to get out and perform that song in front of an audience when I'm so not into it was just like extra frightening.
So what were you into then? I mean, if it wasn't like the typical songs that kids would be into in choir or in musicals, did you just have a sense that there was something else out there, or were you hearing things that you knew were out there that you wanted to do? And what were those things?
My mom would listen a lot to like Ray Charles and Otis Redding and Wilson Pickett, a lot of jazz, and I think Billie Holiday. I got really into. I think I guess I thought something that had a little bit more soul to it because, I mean, I guess that's being judgmental of that other song, but like I'm just don't really feel like the toe bone connected to the foot bone. It's like got a lot of soul in it, like yeah. So I just I think I wanted to do stuff that just was a little deeper. But honestly, when I was really young, I listened to pop. I wanted to be like a pop artist, and then just through time, my interests morphed. When I got into high school, I got really into rock and roll, and I discovered live shows. Like I started going to some local shows when I was about 16, and Dayton, Ohio had a great scene. There was Brainiac and Guided by Voices. I got more into when I was about 18. But the Breeders, when I was in high school, had like I think they had Cannonball was number 1, and that was really cool because Dayton is just this kind of small town, and for them to be from there, it kind of made me feel like you didn't have to be in New York City or Los Angeles, like that I could create art wherever I was.
Did you know Kim Deal or anyone in the band, or?
I do now, but not in back then. Yeah.
I know. And so, would you go to Breeders shows and Guided by Voices shows in town as a teenager?
Yeah, Guided by Voices is probably more when I was about 18. I first saw Guided by Voices. I'm maybe 17, 18. And I was like, what is all the hype? But they used to play so drunk. I mean, they still do. Used to is probably not the term, but I think it's become a lot more together over the years. And when I saw them, I did not get it live. But then somebody actually played some albums for me when I was about 17. And I was just like, oh, this is what it's all about. And then I got really into B1000. I was obsessed with B1000 and Alien Lanes and just all the albums that were coming out around then. And
it is a really big deal to come from a town or a city the size of Dayton that would have 2 acts like that were on the national stage at that time. You know what I mean? Like because I mean, what is Dayton, 150,000 people or something like that? Or
I forget.
I have no idea, but it feels like that to me. And I mean, I feel like if you go to a lot of other towns that size, not too many could boast that. That's a really cool thing for like a teenager in that town at that time to be able to attach themselves to if they were interested in music like you were.
Yeah, I mean, there was a really, really great music scene there around then.
Was there, at that time, isn't there an acoustic room in Dayton? Like
Canal Street Tavern,
yeah. Is that still there, and was that a thing when you were living there as a kid?
Oh, that place. Well, actually, it closed down recently, unfortunately. But Mick finally sold it. It had, I believe, the same owner the whole life of it, and I think he started it in like maybe the 60s or 1970s or something. I could totally be wrong, but I know that place was around since I was born. He sold it, and then it had a new name, and I think recently it closed. The building needed a lot of work. Yeah, sure. I think that was definitely, he started that for the love of it, and
that was more like
but just keeping music up that old building, and sometimes it can be a tough market. So
yeah, not exactly. You're not exactly getting some hedge fund cash outs when you're working in the acoustic music promotion business.
Yeah,
that's for sure. So you go from a teenager listening to the Breeders and misunderstanding Guided by Voices shows to eventually putting a band together yourself. Can you explain that transition from being a kid and being in school to starting to play and getting your start? How did that work for you?
I would try to get a band together around 17 or 18, but I found it was kind of hard for people to take me seriously or understand what I was trying to do. Well, because I've always been very introverted, and it's funny, I didn't even realize how introverted I was back then, because recently I did a reunion show for another band I used to be in, and people were just like, I can't believe you ended up doing music as a career. You're that person that kind of we always recognize being around, but like we're very quiet. And I ended up moving to Cincinnati. Well, I moved to Cincinnati when I was about 21. Okay. And a friend of mine back in Dayton had called and asked me if I was interested in playing bass in a band that they had started called Jesus. We were an all-girl band. And I had never played bass, but she's like, I'm pretty sure you could figure it out. And so I just kind of learned as I went along with that. And I think getting up there in a non-front person way kind of got me used to being on stage and playing, in front of an audience. And meanwhile, I continued to write songs on my own. I wrote a few songs in that band too, and I would write them where I would sing them, but there would be other vocal parts for Heather, that was the main singer in the band. So it was really fun. Like I write like rounds, and we would do like 4-part songs. And it was a lot of fun.
And it's nice for you to be able to dip your toe getting on stage without having to be the primary focal point.
Yeah, and also with writing, because I would write some songs, but I would have parts where we would all sing together. And so meanwhile, I just continued to write songs for what became Heartless Bastards. And but I was having trouble finding people to play with,
and you're saying you mentioned earlier,
clear, I probably could have found people randomly, but I was like sort of scouting out people like, oh, this person's really great. That would be great for what I'm trying to do. Or, I would see somebody that I really thought their playing would complement what I was trying to do. So I think I'm sure I could have found people to play music with and collaborate with. But I was just going for something in particular.
Wow, that early on, you had an idea of what you were going for. Could you have articulated it at that time, or you just knew it when you saw someone playing?
I just sort of knew it when I would like the way they played stylistically. So my boyfriend at the time, Mike Lamping, who ended up playing bass in Heartless Bastards, he was like, well, why don't you just record it yourself? And I was like, well, that's kind of an idea. Like a light bulb went off, and So I did a lot of 8-track stuff and put together some songs, and then I asked a friend about
What kind of 8-track did you have?
a Roland.
Yeah.
I forget the exact, like V20. I don't know. It was some kind of
Yeah, and you had
series
like
of a
some sort of like
Roland.
Shure 57 mics for your, and what was it, just acoustic guitar and voice for demos, or?
No, some of these miking, I had no clue how to record, but
Sure.
this isn't anything I released anyway. It was demos. Like, I would have like one of those like little battery mini amps that you can take for traveling, and I would like mic that, just anything to sort of get the idea out there in some form. And then I did a 5-song demo.
Yeah.
And we I played that. I bartended and I passed it out to everybody that I thought would be remotely interested in it.
So
I went
you
through
took
like
it-
3 CD burners. I probably gave out like 400 CDs or more.
Yeah.
And people liked it, and they put it on the jukebox in some local places in the city.
What a feeling that is.
Yeah.
The first time when people actually respond.
Yeah. It felt like things started to gel, and people started to take me seriously, and
Yeah. That's it. I think when I talk to younger singer-songwriters, everyone's always like, well, how do you know if you should continue doing this? And for me, it's always been, if you're doing something that people respond to, small doors just kind of open for you like that.
Yeah.
Because you give someone a record, and then they'll come back like 2 weeks later, and they'll be like, you know what? I listened to that record of yours, and it's pretty good, and that's all you need to have a career in music, I think, is music that can, in a private moment with someone else who might be a stranger, just really kind of reach over the divide. you know?
Yeah, I think it really is. Initially, I think when you create and put something out there in the world, it's almost like you have to have that positive. Well, you definitely want to have positive feedback either way to keep going. But I think sometimes I went through a lot of trouble with. I realized that at times I've listened to the negative more than the positive. It's so much easier to remember that one person that sometimes criticizes other than many more people that have positive comments. And I'm like learning how to like shut out that,
So
like
hard. That's really hard.
it really is. And I think, I've always done this for myself in a way, but I started to realize, and when I'm listening more to the positive comments, and people have told me that I've helped them get through a time.
Yeah.
It's kind of given me this new. I'm just really invigorated by it. It's kind of given me more of a sense of purpose, because I'm thinking more about the positive instead of.
Well, and the way that you just described it there, what you're describing is being a part of a society where some people are lawyers and some people take out the trash, and sometimes as an artist, it can feel hard to figure out where you fit in the community.
Yeah.
And what you're contributing besides being a free rider playing in bars at night. But when you have people say, hey, you got me through a particular time, for me, that lets me know that, this is how I'm part of the community. This is what I have to offer the world. And that is a much more edifying way to spend your time than reading YouTube comments. I made that mistake once when YouTube... In the late 80s and early 90s, there was a renewed interest in the blues music of the American South. a small niche of listeners became fascinated with the generation of Delta musicians who had inspired the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin, but who remained unrecognized themselves, working jobs outside of music. But to get that regional sound to the national and international audience that wants to hear it, you need a local fixer. That's where Matthew Johnson comes in. Raised in Jackson, Mississippi, he was attending Ole Miss in the early 90s when the venerated musicologist Robert Palmer arrived in town as a visiting professor. Palmer, a contributor to the New York Times and Rolling Stone magazine, authored Deep Blues, a book that many consider a definitive text on the subject. Johnson's curiosity in the music was stoked by Palmer, and eventually he was encouraged by the professor to start his own record label devoted to it. And so was born one of the truly great and strange American independent record labels. Fat Possum Records was founded in 1991 with the slogan, "We're trying our best." The label sought out regional bluesmen such as R.L. Burnside and Junior Kimbrough and recorded their work. Johnson faced a backlash from blues purists for his willingness to arrange collaborations for his artists with younger independent bands such as John Spencer Blues Explosion. But ultimately, the experiments fostered success for his artists. Johnson himself took on a mythic reputation. He was profiled in The New Yorker by none other than Jay McInerney. He described Johnson as a man who had a taste, quote, for barmaids, firearms, trucks, no-name vodka, and the kind of drugs that keep you up for 3 days. Johnson owns a publishing company aptly named Big Legal Mess, and the best illustration of his rakish charm is an anecdote about McInerney's purchasing a Mercedes diesel from Johnson, only to learn when his wife was pulled over in Tennessee that the vehicle was stolen. The wife vowed to never speak to Johnson again, and then, only a few weeks later, invited him to Thanksgiving dinner. After the turn of the century, Fat Possum began to sign younger, independent bands like the Black Keys, Band of Horses, and yes, our protagonists today, Heartless Bastards. So you're passing these 400 burned CDs around Cincinnati. Where does it go from there? What's the next step? What door opens for you at that point?
Well, I was always trying to play out of town. I always felt like there's the local band syndrome where you like play so much that people kind of get tired because they can see you every other week or however often, and I think it's really good to not overplay your town.
I totally agree. Could not agree more.
And so I wanted to sort of continue playing and build the live show. So really Ohio, I was living in Cincinnati then, and Cincinnati is 5 hours from Detroit, 5 hours from Pittsburgh, 5 hours from Chicago. Indianapolis is 2 hours. There's all the Ohio markets.
Except you can never figure out what the time change is with Indianapolis.
Yeah,
so that's a problem.
I know. I remember having a concert tickets once and like being an hour late because
oh yeah,
I forget how it worked out, but I totally yeah.
So are you just you have an agent at that point, or you're just booking your own shows in different
I was booking
clubs?
it myself, yeah, and
were there other bands that you were working with to put bills together and stuff like that at the time? Or?
It's a little vague now. I think I would try to reach out to bands that were local in those cities and see if they were up for trading. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I ended up booking an Akron, Ohio show. And actually, that was another thing. I would always email the club that had a lot of touring acts come through. Right. I would monitor their show announcements. Yeah. And if they didn't have an opener listed, I would be anything I thought would be a good fit. I would email and can I get this? And the Black Keys came through, and I and I ended up getting that opening slot
In Cincinnati or in...
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And then probably like 2 or 3 weeks later, maybe, I had that Akron show. Mm-hmm. And it was funny, there was like 5 people in the bar, and we get to the club, and the owner's like, you know, there's really nobody here. You guys don't even need to play. He goes, I'll pay you anyway. Like, he's like, it's not about money, but I'm just assuming you would rather get on your way to your next city, because I had like a tour booked, and
that's the worst feeling.
And I said, you know, honestly, I'd love to play. Like, this is good rehearsal. It's
Sure.
all. I was like, if you don't mind, I would still love to play. Mm-hmm. And he was like, oh, all right, suit yourself. And I mean, we started the set, and I think there was just this one drunk couple dancing that wanted us to play like a Stones tune or something. Right. And there's one guy at the bar, you know. But then partway through that set, Patrick Carney came in.
Mm-hmm. From the Black Keys.
Yeah, and I thought I recognized him, like from a distance, and we just finished the set, and then he came up and said, hey, afterwards, and we all hung out and had beers, and I gave him a demo, and and then I didn't realize that Fat Possum, after that, he recommended me to Fat Possum, and I didn't realize that they were emailing me, because I had never, ever checked my junk mail folder.
Oh, that's a nightmare. That could have been so bad.
Yeah, and I just always assumed that they must, like, somehow an email must know something's junk.
Right.
So
did you just open up your junk folder one day and you're like, what have I done?
No, I came home from work, and Mike Lamping, my boyfriend at the time, and who was in the band, he wrote a note, and he left it on the kitchen table, like, why didn't you tell me Fat Possum's been emailing, or something like that. And so when I bartended, he was at work the next day, and I called him, and I'm like, I had no idea.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was funny, I had like a number on there that they could call, but I didn't have the same number anymore because I moved, so they were trying to call the old number.
Oh, man.
And it was yeah.
So you figured out that they were trying to call, and they just said, hey, we want to put this out?
Yeah, I think I emailed them, and then we spoke on the phone, and Matthew was like, hey, why don't you come up to New York, and we all meet, and like, we could do some more demos in the studio if you have a whole album's worth of stuff. And
did you?
I did. I think I was just so like a babe in the woods, and just like, he was shocked I didn't want to agree to sign right away, and that I might want to know more details, and
right.
You know, but I just was so out of my element, you know.
Yeah.
I was very intimidated by that whole trip to New York, and yeah.
Well, and it's a very disorienting thing. Like you were saying, you were the one monitoring clubs' websites for touring acts that came through, so you were so used to, at the very start, you do everything yourself. You know? And it is you're a little wary when someone else wants to become involved with it. Mm-hmm. At first, I could understand that feeling. So, well, tell me in detail about that first trip to New York. Did you guys drive there to play, or?
Well.
Did you fly in? Did you?
We drove, and yeah. I remember we stayed at the Gramercy Park Hotel, which isn't that hotel anymore.
It's a Trump hotel now.
Probably something comparable. And Matt Sweeney is Matthew from Fat Possum's really good friend, and who I'm a big fan of. So that was cool. Really, honestly, there was, I don't know, there was some debauchery going on a bit. I don't know if I should go into it.
Whatever you're comfortable with, we're here. This is not a Barbara Walters interview, so you're good.
Yeah. Gosh, it's all such a blur in some ways. I mean, gosh, that was in 2004. So, yeah.
So did you end up signing with them when you were in New York?
I didn't sign right then. I did later when I got home. And I didn't, I felt like, is there like really a good entertainment lawyer to consult in Cincinnati? I didn't really know what to do, or I didn't have much money to spend, or I think I didn't know, I'd never had a lawyer before, what legal fees would be. So I just took the contract to Shake It Records, which is like a local record store, but they also run a label.
Okay.
And I was just like, I asked Darren, that's one of the owners.
Yeah.
I was like, is this a good contract? And he just like looked for like a minute and goes, do it. So I think, I'm really grateful to Fat Possum and Patrick and yeah.
So I'd imagine after that, when they put out your first couple records, you start doing your first like big national tours at that point. Do you remember your first one?
It was Drive-By Truckers.
Oh, we were just at their show the other night.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
Yeah,
that was so fun to run into you and Robert Ellis like randomly.
Yeah, we were, to give listeners a context, Robert Ellis and I went to see Drive-By Truckers and His Golden Messenger here in Austin last weekend, and we're just sitting there having a beer, and Erika just wanders up. She's like, "Hey guys, I'm just kind of here to see the show," because I guess you had toured with them, Drive-By Truckers, and so had Robert.
Yeah,
had opened for them as well. I didn't realize that was your first tour, though.
Yeah, it was in 2004, the fall of 2004, right when they released The Dirty South. And it was pre the release of my first record, which came out in that winter in February of 2005. But they gave me my first opportunity to sort of get out there.
What size venues was it in?
I remember we did, I think the first night of the tour was coincidentally in Austin, and they had a 2-night stand at the Parish. I think I did some more touring after that record came out with them also. We did 2 tours.
Did you, and do you now, do you enjoy touring?
I do. You know, it's like, it's really tough and like wonderful all at the same time, you know. The travel, I mean, you're sometimes like, I think the older I get, the harder it is on my body to like just be, you know, constantly traveling. There's also something really interesting, something new happens every day. It's also very, though, kind of, I have more of a routine on tour than I do at home. I get a little out of whack when I get home, and I'm like, okay, I need to develop some kind of routine, because I can really be a little bit aimless, you know, if I don't do that.
I totally agree. I remember when I felt really aimless was when I switched from, I used to have a regular job that I worked. I was a carpenter. And then music started to work out for me. And I'd get home off a tour and it was like, oh, I don't have to go pound nails. I'm just here now at my house, and there's 3 weeks before I go to the next tour.
Yeah.
And that is the first time you spend extended time at your house while the rest of the world is going to work.
Yeah.
And you're just at home and you don't have a schedule at that point. At this point, 10 years in, I've learned how to do it. But yeah, the schedule of the road that's kind of prescribed for you is a very nice security blanket in some ways, you know?
Yeah. I was talking with somebody recently, and I have this lyric I'm going to use in a song, which isn't written yet, but it's a hard way to make an easy living.
Oh, man, we might have to cut this out of the podcast because someone will take that from you. Although, I guess if we released it, you've really staked your claim to it. So, you're good. It's usually the transition time between projects, between different eras of your personal life, that allow you brief moments of perspective on the whole enterprise. You can see exactly where you came from, you can decide exactly where it is you're going to go, and then you dive headlong into the next chapter, and everything becomes as muddy and unclear as it was before. It's really hard to see the forest through the trees. After talking with Erika, it struck me that I might have caught her in one of those clarifying moments of transition. She's putting the finishing touches on an album right now that will be released under her own name, rather than as Heartless Bastards. And for her, that's a sea change that has put her in a grateful frame of mind. It reminded me of a poem by Jane Hirschfield, which I think embodies that fleeting perspective that we can be granted, entitled, "My Life Was the Size of My Life." My life was the size of my life. Its rooms were room-sized. Its soul was the size of a soul. In its background, mitochondria hummed. Above it, sun, clouds, snow, the transit of stars and planets. It rode elevators, bullet trains, various airplanes, a donkey. It wore socks, shirts, its own ears and nose. It ate, it slept, it opened and closed its hands, its windows. Others I know had lives larger. Others I know had lives shorter. The depth of lives, too, is different. There were times my life and I made jokes together. There were times we made bread. Once, I grew moody and distant. I told my life I would like some time. I would like to try seeing others. In a week, my empty suitcase and I returned. I was hungry then, and my life too was hungry. We could not keep our hands off, our clothes on, our tongues from. I want to switch gears a little bit away from biographical stuff and just kind of talk a little bit of process for you, writing-wise. If you have a day set aside to write, what does that day look like for you? Does it look the same every time? Does it look different every time? Do you have particular places you like to write?
And most of my songs start with a melody in my head. And I tend to write when I'm in motion. I think it's like this thing where I become kind of on autopilot. And I'm not trying to write, but I'm also busy doing something else that's kind of mindless in a way, like driving. I write a lot when I'm on like a long trip. So I tend to take road trips by myself to sort of get ideas. When I'm on a flight, I always like, especially on airplanes, and more so in the window seat, but really in general, anywhere on an airplane. And sometimes I have to like go to the like bathroom and do like a little voice memo so I don't forget.
Yeah.
And a couple of times recently, I hummed a melody into my phone with somebody sitting next to me. I was like, I don't care. I'm not getting up. I'm in the window seat.
I'm just getting this. Yeah. Wow, on planes.
Yeah. And I walk. One of my routines for a while, which I'm a little out of right now because I'm going through physical therapy, but I would walk around Town Lake every day when I'm home when I get back from a tour.
That's a great one.
And I get a lot of ideas when I'm just walking. It's kind of like meditation to me.
It's exactly like meditation.
Yeah.
I mean, no, that's what that is. There's obviously there's the meditation that people do, sitting practice, and I do that, and I really enjoy it, and it helps me a lot. But I know people that when they describe they wouldn't describe it as a walking practice. You just say, hey, I just went for a walk around Lady Bird Lake in Austin. But in reality, it is a meditation practice just from the practical uses that you get out of it. I know one of the guests that we just had on the show was Tim from Strand of Oaks. And
I love Tim.
I love Tim too. And I tried to get him to get into meditation. He's like, no, I don't want to do it. I got these walks that I go on. And then he described what his walks meant to him. And it's like, so hold on, Tim, you go for a walk an hour and a half every day around when you're off tour. And I realized this is his meditation time. This is what works for him. He likes being in motion. And
it also gives me a routine, which I think is really good. Some kind of thing that I need to do every day that's like, it just kind of gives me a schedule. So it makes me a little bit less aimless.
And at that point, once you have a melody that you've sketched out on your iPhone or whatever, or on a recorder, do you take it right to an instrument at that point?
It's a process for me. And I generally bring songs that are just about done, like arranged, written, and everything before I bring it into the band. I mean, sometimes we might work on some arrangement switches and things, but I like to sort of form a clear idea of where I'm trying to go. I try to be open to being surprised by it going somewhere different, but I just tend to follow that. I like to follow through with where I was trying to go initially before I start changing gears. Just so that people can understand where I was headed first before we would alter anything. But, yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a process for me. Like, maybe if I were walking around Town Lake every day for 2 weeks, I might work on the same melody. My problem is I never finish anything. I mean, that's the real challenge. But I might have that melody in my head all week, and then I'm working on trying to get a bridge or something. But sometimes it takes a while before I actually pick up a guitar.
Sure.
I don't know. I like to simmer on things in my head. And, this is a new thing I'm, like, discovering about myself. And I think it's also a bit of why I've had some difficulties with writer's block at times, is when I get an initial idea, I think it comes from some sort of place within some sort of emotional thing. And I'm, like, trying to learn it, understand it. But there's also a sense of a struggle to let go of something. And it might be something that's actually something I should let go of. It's like...
And when you say whatever that is, and this thing that it's hard to let go of, you're talking about the emotional struggle that you're inspired by at that time, or something that's going on personally?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I think that I realize that sometimes having writer's block is me delaying letting go of something, and the more and more I just kind of go with my gut and not worry about responses from things, or the more I just let those ideas out there, whatever they are. And I think there's this layer of self-protection that's always been there about letting that emotion out into the world. And the more I think I'm letting my guard down more and more with that. And the quicker those ideas are coming out, and the sooner I let go of whatever it is that I feared, Well,
that sounds like not only a good songwriting thing, but that sounds like a nice thing on a personal level.
It very much relates. Yeah. I'm like...
To be able to just say, no, I'll go ahead and move past this now.
Yeah. Well, I'm starting to learn a lot more, or starting to understand myself a lot more. Yeah.
What's something that you're most proud of in your career playing music?
Oh gosh.
You can say it. It's all right.
Well,
it's okay to be proud of something.
No, it's not that. I just, as far as most proud of,
Something that you're proud of.
I think I'm just proud of I don't quite know how to answer that. I mean, I don't mean that I'm not proud of myself. I just mean that I'm proud in general of what I'm doing and where I'm at, and it's not like one particular thing. I mean, really where I'm at is sort of an amalgam of it all, you know.
Sure.
And I feel like I had a conversation. It was a really interesting conversation with somebody that actually has sold out arenas, and I was really shocked that I gathered from that conversation that they still quite hadn't felt like they made it in some way. Like, I'm sure in a lot of ways they're very much understand that they have, but I think there's that thing where you always want to grow in some way, and like, and I think it's really good to not feel complacent and that you're always driven by something.
Yeah.
But I realized through that conversation that no matter where you grow to, that it created this thing within me where I was like, I need to stop and really appreciate where I've gone, because I mean, it's so relative to the individual. I was like, I felt like this person has gone so much further than me, and at times I felt like I haven't quite gotten there wherever it is I'm going. But it's, you know, I guess at this point I'm just proud of where I'm at, what I've done, and sort of whatever else happens is great or cool.
No, but you're right. I mean, those external things are never. I remember doing a tour once. I opened for Joe Ely very early in my career.
Oh, awesome!
And we were doing. It was a long tour, and at a lot of the shows, there was a lot of people there, and they were really into it. Some of the shows, there weren't that many people there, and I watched as Joe's demeanor never changed.
Yeah.
The entire time. So when it was the shows that weren't as good, it meant that he wasn't too down about it. But when the shows were amazing, he would still walk off stage and be like, pretty even keeled still. Like, and that was a level of self-possession that I had never seen before in somebody. And I knew, I was about 25 opening that tour. I knew that personally I was a really long way away from ever getting there to where he was. But I remember seeing that and thinking to myself, that's just about the most desirable trait in a person that I could imagine.
Yeah.
Well, we started this conversation, and we can wrap it up in a pretty similar location. You were saying you were listening to a couple mixes from your new record on the way over, and they were making you emotional because you felt like you had began to capture something that was really you. And this is the start of a whole new chapter for you, because you're going to be putting this record out under your name, Erika Wennerstrom, rather than Heartless Bastards. And you just played the historic, if not tiny, Cactus Cafe here in Austin, solo. And you're getting ready to embark on a larger tour solo. How do you see, what is your vision for this next chapter of your artistic life?
I'm learning to not have expectations of anything, and therefore whatever happens, happens. But I'll just say I have high hopes for it. And I felt very emotional when I drove over here listening to those tracks, because I just know that I've took my time and I've really given it my all.
I really appreciate you sitting down with me, Erika.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you.
thanks for this interview or this conversation that's taped. It's not really an interview.
Not really. Not really. That's our show for this month. Thank you for listening. Erika will be releasing her new solo album in the coming year. Otherwise, keep an eye out for her on tour with Lucinda Williams. Today's episode was engineered and mixed by Matt Schusler. Research and editorial direction provided by the intrepid and thorough Paul Barbagallo. If before we meet again, you sit down to write, please remember, an expensive pair of jeans is not a song. A compelling Instagram account is great, but it's not a song. And most importantly, reverb is not a song. So let all that take care of itself. And for you, just keep your eye on the song.